Alright, man. Now, you know, I did my live stream for BACKTRASH, even though it's supposed to be Backlash. But, hey, we could all agree it was boring, okay? And that's why we need this rant from Cjax, because honestly, we're getting tired of this Backlash crap. And we already know what Monday's going to bring. So let's go ahead and start this Mother's Day by doing this before the day ends. And shout out to all the mothers out there. This video is not for you, but I just want to shout you out. So that's for you. Okay, let's get started.
Well, as expected, WWE BACKTRASH was absolutely awful, man. This is a show that is basically a glorified episode of Raw. Every single one of these matches, except for the main event with Cena and Orton, which I'll talk about because I kind of like that match. However, everything else is a glorified Raw or SmackDown match. And how do I know this? Because we've seen this. We've seen Dominic versus Penta on Raw multiple times. We've seen Becky and Lyra fighting on Raw together. This is not a Raw level. This is not even a Raw level match. That's an embarrassment to it. This is not good at all. I understand that there were a couple decent spots in the match, but to say that this match was anything above a Raw match is embarrassing. You have Pat McAfee versus Gunther, which was horrible. I am going to be talking about that match later in the review. That is one of the biggest wastes of time in the history of WWE as a whole, and obviously you had the Fatal 4-Way, which unfortunately Drew McIntyre apparently has a concussion or some type of injury because his head landed hardly on the ground in a spot that was completely unnecessary. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but at the end of the day, this was a glorified episode of Raw or SmackDown. All of the matches were either boring or predictable, except for the main event. The main event was predictable, obviously, but it was pretty eventful and kind of entertaining, I would say. And other than that, you know, these matches are not PLE level. You talk about premium live event. What is premium about this PLE? We have 5 matches and 4 of them are awfully built and have zero reason to even be existing. We have a bad, uneventful stage to look at for the actual show. We have a mediocre crowd considering it's a PLE.
Bro, why does motherfucker look like one of the characters from Invader Zim? Oh, wait. Looks like one of the cast members from Gorillaz. You know the rock band, the animated rock band? Just saying.
And if you say, here's the thing. If you know you're not going to have anything in advance of a PLE, at least try to be creative. If you know the matches are going to be predictable, at least do a lot of things and add some drama and some suspense and some intensity to make us think the other person is going to win. Or at the very least, throw your top stars and top champions out there to wrestle. That Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins match, just go ahead and put that on this card and have CM Punk return. You know what I mean? Have that happen. Don't give us this card where Lyra is fighting Becky and Pat McAfee versus Gunther is the penultimate match on a PLE? Come on, man. You know this isn't good. So at the end of the day, we got 5 poorly built matches overall. One of them ended up being pretty decent, I would say. And other than that, it was pretty garbage. But this is not a premium live event. This is not premium. It's not eventful. And the ring mat is full of ads. We got more ads on the ring mat than we did matches. So it is what it is. And all the endings to the matches I thought were pretty poor. But anyways, that's not the point. Let's go ahead and talk about the first match, which was Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest versus LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the US title. This is a obvious SmackDown main event. If this main event did an episode of SmackDown before or after a PLE, like if this was a SmackDown after Mania and we got this match thrown together on the night of, no one would ask questions. This is a basic SmackDown match, you know what I'm saying? So let's just say we got that on SmackDown, it would basically be the same thing. You know, this is a very solid match, I will say. The finish I thought was pretty bad. We'll talk about that in a second. But the match itself was kind of entertaining. You had some basic, moves to start us off. Everyone was kind of getting in their own offense, except for Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is supposed to be the super dominant champion, and for the first 10 minutes of this match, he was laying down on his back looking up at the lights after getting knocked down by multiple people's moves inside of this match. So that was a little bit weird how he got destroyed when he's supposed to be the one destroying people. Anyways, then we obviously got the mandatory "this is awesome" to 2 signature moves. You get Drew McIntyre threw what's it? I think it was Priest off the top rope with his car. It was a great move, from the position Drew McIntyre got up from and threw him. Good move. Then we just got random moves being thrown out of nowhere. Everyone started kind of no-selling moves and started popping off signatures. We got a pretty cool sequence where, I think LA Knight hit the BFT, then Damian, I think, hit the South of Heaven, then got Claymored, and then fell onto Knight for the pin, and then Drew McIntyre, messed up the pin, and that was that. Pretty good spot. After that, the match became an overbooked disaster. We got a table spot where Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre were brawling out into the arena, and then Damian Priest hit the South of Heaven from like 15 feet in the air through like some tables, and Drew McIntyre's head kind of missed the back of the table, and so because of that, Drew McIntyre, I think, was carried to medical or something like that to get his head checked out afterwards. So he's probably injured, may have a concussion or something worse, hopefully not.
And FYI, guys, I just want to let you know I did miss the Fatal 4-Way match because I was late. But I was on live stream, but I did watch the rest of the matches, though. Half of Becky and Lyra, but I did watch the ending and whatnot. But yeah, that's why I'm just going to let him speak on the Fatal 4-Way because I don't know. If Drew is injured, I hope he get well, and hopefully that scar on the top of his head did not open, because if that did, there goes his brain. And then how is he gonna start thinking about Punk now? But no. But hopefully Drew is okay. Hopefully he didn't get a concussion like they say he did. I mean, hopefully he's okay. Hopefully. So I'm just gonna let Cjax speak on the Fatal 4-Way because I ain't got nothing to say. Because I can't speak on it because I didn't watch it. So y'all can speak on it down below in the comment box, but I'm gonna let him speak on this. So let's get to you.
At the end of the day, this is embarrassing. Why are we even getting this spot in the first place? Why is Damian Priest hitting a South of Heaven on Drew McIntyre, who should be fighting for world title gold? This was what happens when you put great wrestlers in meaningless situations. Why is Drew McIntyre even in this match to begin with? Now he's at a possibility of getting injured because of a stupid spot to make Damian Priest look super strong, man. The bad guy. All rise for the outlaw. All rise for the jobber. Damian Priest hits that South of Heaven, and Drew McIntyre basically gets his head slammed on the ground, and that's that. And unfortunately, now that Drew McIntyre might actually be concussed or hurt in the head, he probably can't stop thinking about Punk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to say he can't stop thinking about Punk because he can't stop thinking about Punk. So, yeah, there you have it. While they're over there doing that and then the crowd, Jacob Fatu and LA Knight are battling. LA Knight's about to put an elbow on Jacob Fatu through a table. And then Solo Sikoa comes out, the jobber himself. Solo Sikoa comes out, distracts LA Knight. And then we get the appearance of, what is this dude's name? Jacob Cobb or Jeff Cobb or Corn on a Cob? Whatever this dude's name, he's a jobber. You know what I mean? That's the truth of the matter. Michael Cole goes, oh my gosh, it's Jeff Cobb. It's Jeff Cobb. Nobody cares. It's Jeffrey Cobb. Who the heck is that?
Jeff Cobb made his WWE debut at Backlash, and if you don't know who he is, here's a quick summary. If you like wrestling content, hit that follow button. Jeff Cobb was born in Hawaii. However, at the age of 11, moved back to Guam with his mom, who's from there. However, her parents were born in the Philippines, meaning that Cobb is Filipino. Even though Jeff Cobb helped the Samoan bloodline family, he is not Samoan. Jeff Cobb's career started out as an amateur wrestler, where he represented Guam in the Olympics at Athens in 2004. Following that, the next 5 years, Jeff Cobb wrestled on the independent scene until 2014 when he was invited to a WWE tryout. However, he didn't join WWE after that, instead made a name for himself in Lucha Underground, the masked monster Matanza Cueto. He then held the Lucha Underground title for over a year, remaining undefeated, till he eventually lost to Rey Mysterio. After Lucha Underground, Jeff Cobb worked in companies such as Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Progress Wrestling. In the past 8 years, Jeff Cobb has been fighting in New Japan Pro Wrestling. During his time there, he has won a few championships. One of the most notable things he did in New Japan was joining the United Empire, which was co-founded by Will Ospreay. Cobb also has been on Ring of Honor and AEW before. His most recent appearance was a year ago, teaming with Kyle Fletcher. What do you think Jeff Cobb does in WWE?
Nothing.
You know what I'm saying? Who cares about Jeffrey Cobb? But Jeffrey Cobb beats up LA Knight, and then Jacob Fatu goes in and hits a moonsault on LA Knight and retains his championship. So basically, we have a new member added to this new bloodline faction, kind of like we had last year with Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga. This is just absolute nonsense. Eventually, Solo Sikoa will turn on Jacob Fatu and then try and get his belts. All of this happening for a U.S. title is just meaningless. And the fact that LA Knight and Drew McIntyre are essentially buried after this match is done. Number one, Drew McIntyre is likely injured or at least hurt heavily after this match, which sucks. He's fighting for a meaningless U.S. championship, which is also embarrassing. And we know his talents dictate him being much higher on the card than this. Number two, LA Knight is done because he's been pinned by Shinsuke Nakamura. He got pinned by Jacob Fatu at Mania. And now he's been pinned by Jacob Fatu again at this PLE, which basically shows me that LA Knight has no business fighting for a U.S. title. And you can't go from losing U.S. title matches to fighting for a world title. So now where does LA Knight go from here?
I still think he's going to go after the world title.
That's exactly right. To Jobberville. And LA Knight with someone his talents going to Jobberville is embarrassing, man. So this was an awful booking disaster. The ending was overbooked. I don't care about this new Jeffrey Corn on a Cob guy. It doesn't matter. So it is what it is. This match I thought had some decent spots, but the ending was poorly booked and ruined the look of Drew and LA Knight inside of the company. So there you have that. Then we get the Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch match. This match was absolutely a Raw match. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, you had a couple decent spots, but this is not a Raw. This isn't even good enough to be a Raw match. This isn't even an NXT match, because in NXT, the woman put on better matches than this. This is disrespectful to NXT. Stephanie Valkyria and Jordynne Grace could sleepwalk into having a better match than this, and that's just the facts about it, okay? If I'm getting better matches week to week on NXT, why would I be content with having an average match on a PLE? It's not acceptable. This is a premium live event. Where is the premium content? Where is the eventful level content? It's not here, that's for sure. Anyways, okay, this is the thing. Stephanie Valkyria, for example, versus Io Sky a few weeks ago on Raw, like, that's an undercard or a mid-card Raw match that is much better than what we saw in this match. So it's not acceptable. If, like I said, if you know the PLE, you have nothing to book and nothing to develop because Triple H is an uncreative fraud, okay, who has no idea how to book. If you know you have those issues, then why don't you just throw your stars on the match and have the best match possible? If something is going to be predictable, have it be at least an elite match or overwhelmingly entertaining. This was not that. Lyra Valkyria basically carried most of this match, which is kind of designed for her to get in most of the big offensive moves and to look, good in the ring and show off her moves and do all that stuff. So that was basically how it went. There was a couple decent, finishing sequences, and then we also got started to get into the ridiculous part of the night, which was the finisher spamming in nearly every single match. Why is Lyra Valkyria kicking out of 2 or 3 manhandle slams, getting out of the disarmor, and doing all this stuff? Lyra Valkyria is a 1-year rookie versus someone who is a 7 or 8-time world champion. I understand Becky can't win this match. I get it. We have to put Lyra over. But this is not how you do it, having her kick out of 2 finishers just to win off of a roll-up. What?
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I mean, she did that to Raquel, and she did it to Bayley, and now she's doing it to Becky? Come on, Lyra. I mean, shoot. You can't hit your finisher move? Like, I don't understand that shit. She need to come up with a submission move, man, because she keep doing this shit, bro. Like, that's 3 times you have done a roll-up. I mean, I mean, it still was a good match, but why would you do the roll-up? You could have done that. You could have done anything else, but instead you did a roll-up. Come on, man. That shit lame. And they wonder why you got your ass beat after the match. Well, she should have done the Liv Morgan, by the way. But these roll-ups, man, I mean, shoot. Just don't stop.
What does that do? What does that help for anybody involved in this? This just looks dumb. Now we know Lyra didn't legitimately pin Becky straight up. She needed a roll-up to get out of this after Becky hit 2 of her finishers. It looks dumb and it makes no sense. And some of the false finishing and the awkward botches on some of the roll-ups and stuff, it didn't look very smooth in multiple parts throughout this match. It was a bad finish to a match that I would say is a decent, Raw level match, but the 50-50 booking just makes this very nonsensical. And then obviously, after the match, Becky Lynch starts brawling with Lyra and beating her up, and there was a point in the match where she's talking trash to Lyra Valkyria's husband or fiance or whatever, and that's pretty much that. After the match, he hits a disarmor on Lyra, and then Lyra's arm is hurt, and then that's pretty much the end of this. Lyra walks away with the title and retains. Like I said, this is a Raw match, so there's nothing really to say about it.
But the question is Bayley going to come back to get a one-on-one match with Becky, or are we going to get a triple threat match? That's the question.
Then we basically get to Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. We can basically skip through this because we've seen this 3 or 4 times on Raw in the last 2 months alone. So this is pretty much the same thing. Classic Judgment Day shenanigans, the interferences and the absolute nonsense. Dominic Mysterio had a really nice sliding out of the ring like DDT he did off a dive, which was great. And he hit the Oblivion, which I thought was pretty cool.
Man, ain't nothing cool about the Oblivion or whatever you fucking call it.
But other than that, there's nothing to speak of in this match. This is a regular, average, mediocre match between Dominic Mysterio and Penta. The video packages before the match basically show matches with Chad Gable and Penta from 3 months ago from his debut. You have matches from months ago that Penta was doing because there's nothing to actually build on with Dominic and Penta themselves. They haven't had enough correct build-up or correct, feud to properly build this match. It was thrown together for this PLE, and because of that, you feel nothing in this match. And when Dominic eventually retains the belt due to interference from El Grande Americano, who comes in and hits him with a headbutt with the metal in his mask, and that's it. This is stupid. Nobody cares about this. Why am I on a PLE watching Raw matches? That is the biggest question I don't get about this stuff. I'm not just going to sit back and accept, oh, well, it's just a Backlash, man. It's just a Backlash, bro. It's okay, man. It's okay. Just accept the mediocrity and the garbage that's thrown your way.
That sounds like the Live and Dom fans.
This is Backlash, bro. No, it's called a premium live event. I want premium content. And if I can't get it, then tell the booker Triple Fraud to get fired and get out. Now, let's get to the next match. The penultimate match already, because we're already on the fourth match. This is the second to last match of the night. This match went on for way too long. Pat McAfee versus Gunther, I think confirmed now, can basically be one of the biggest wastes of time in the history of WWE pay-per-view / premium live events. This match should not have been close. Gunther is supposed to be a dominant, beastly heel who is not, number one, not getting, choked out by Jey Uso and tapping in 5 seconds, but number two, should not even have been close to getting pinned by Pat McAfee one time in this match. It should have been a bunch of chops, clotheslines, power bombs, and destruction, leading to Michael Cole getting attacked and then Goldberg coming out. But we don't even get Goldberg. That was the big selling point of this match, was that, hey, maybe Goldberg will show up afterwards. We don't even get that. This is an embarrassment. Do you understand how ridiculous it is to have a premium live event 3 weeks after WrestleMania and have Pat McAfee versus Gunther be the penultimate match on the show? What is there to talk about with this match? Seriously, think about it for a second. What is there to talk about inside of this match? What was eventful about it? Oh, Michael Cole grabbed Gunther's ankle and tried to get him pinned. What? That's what we're celebrating now? This is an embarrassment, man. The fact that this is even called a PLE is just... stop calling these PLEs. Stop. They're premium garbages. Then start calling them PGEs. Premium garbage events. That's what they need to be called, because that's what they are. At the end of this match, Gunther basically decides he's done with getting in close near falls and getting kicked by Pat McAfee a couple times and getting close to getting near falled. And basically, Gunther decides, I'm going to start chopping him and clotheslining him. And he's basically taunting Michael Cole the whole match. And then eventually he puts Pat McAfee in the headlock, and then Pat McAfee ends up getting knocked out. Then fast forward 20 seconds, he's already back up and, sitting up again and is talking trash again to Gunther. But you know what? Gunther then after the match, this is the most embarrassing part about it all. After the match, Gunther basically, does like a sign of respect towards Pat McAfee and Michael Cole. Are you kidding me? You go from choking both of these dudes out to now you're doing signs of respect after the match, just like you tried to shake hands with Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing? This dude after Crown Jewel was shaking Cody's hand, and now after Backlash, where he was just choking these dudes out, now he's trying to show them signs of respect, giving them high fives and handshakes, and good job, buddy, yeah! What happened to the mat is sacred? The mat's so sacred, there's 15 logos on the mat, and Gunther isn't doing anything about it. He's just sitting there. You could easily make a cool storyline about Gunther being upset with the establishment because of what WWE and wrestling has become. But no, we get Gunther versus Pat McAfee, and he's showing signs of respect after? Where does Gunther go from here? Back to go fight against who? Finn Balor on a Raw match? This is embarrassing, and everybody knows it. This is an absolute disaster match. The fact that this is even on the card was already embarrassing, but the fact that this actually ended up taking place in the way that it did, dragging on for way too long, was even worse. Gunther wins the match, obviously, and then they do nothing afterwards. There's no shenanigans, no nothing. I'm assuming Pat McAfee will be written off now so he can go do his college football stuff for the next however many months and come back near the end of the year or next year, whatever. I don't care. This was ridiculous. Then we get to the main event. This is the only part of the show that I'd say I pretty much enjoyed for the most part throughout this match. The first part I didn't really enjoy, but after that, it was pretty much good to go. The match started off pretty slow, pretty boring.
The whole match was pretty slow and boring. Look at Randy's face. That's us when we were trying to... that's us when we were trying to stay awake for the whole match. Look at Randy's face. That was us that was us yesterday when we was watching John Cena versus Randy. We was just like, sleep. Z.
Orton and Cena are basically doing all the phoned in, standard moves, the blow for blow, yay, boo, yay, boo. They did a couple finisher trading, which I thought was good. They did some finisher trading, with Cena doing the AA into an RKO from Orton. That was pretty cool. Orton actually hit a couple AAs, which we'll talk about in a second. Cena tried to hit some RKOs. It was pretty cool. You know, I thought this was pretty entertaining once it got to the midpoint. The first part was, like I said, very slow and uneventful, but after they started getting out of the monotony, it became an actual pretty entertaining match. Considering the ages and the physical states of both of these wrestlers and how older they are now in the business, this makes sense. This is as good as this match probably could have been. Like, they probably reached like 85% of the max potential they could have reached with this match. You have to keep into account their ages, obviously, and just the way their bodies are, and, you know, the fact that you don't have that same athleticism anymore. So we can't expect them to be doing all the drop kicks and, you know, doing all the crazy ladder and table and chair spots and, you know, all the suspense and the drama, because Cena's a heel now, you know, and Orton's a face. It's the whole dynamic is shifted, and so that's kind of exemplified inside of this match, and that's just what it is. However, once this thing started getting crazy, it did get pretty eventful and a little bit overbooked, but we'll talk about that in a second. The knockouts of the refs are pretty much inconsistent. The knockouts of the actual wrestlers, Cena and Orton, were pretty inconsistent as well. Now, after all these finishers that they were hitting, Orton, I think, hit 1 or 2 RKOs and Cena was kicking out. Cena hit an AA or 2 and Orton was kicking out, so that's kind of weird because, you know, I don't think Orton's won a singles match on a PLE besides the Joe Hendry match at Mania. I don't think he's won a singles match on a PLE besides that since like 2021 or 2020 maybe, so it's very weird to see him kicking out of like 3 or 4 AAs like this is normal for him. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just ridiculous. But anyways, same with Cena, who literally was dang near about to get pinned at WrestleMania, you know, but there was interferences and stuff like that, so there was that. But this is a pretty inconsistently booked match. However, I will say, you know, once they started getting out of the ring and John Cena, you know, tried to hit an AA on Orton through the table, and the first ref got bumped and no security came out to check on him, which we'll touch on that in a second as well. No security came out to check on the ref. Then Cena was the one who got RKO'd through that vibranium behind table. That table had to have been made out of vibranium, bro. They do not break. Like, those tables are super reinforced. They got to go back to the old model of announce tables that actually break when you hit through them, so it, you know, it adds to the impact of the match, because this just kind of ruins it. Orton, literally, I respect the crap out of Orton. I respect it. I love it. I need it. Cody Rhodes, you know what I'm saying? Not Cody Rhodes, sorry. John Cena got AA'd through the announce table, and then Randy Orton, I respect this. He went over to the other side of the ring and grabbed the table, and then hit Orton or hit Cena with another AA through that table, so that kind of made up for the original table bump, so that was pretty cool. And then he brought Cena back in the ring. A new ref came out, and Cena still kicked out, you know, so the Super Cena stuff was still there. Cena tried to do his shoulder tackle, you know, ramp up with the side slam and the 5-knuckle shuffle, and on the second shoulder tackle, he got RKO'd. That was a great counter, then he kicked out of that. So it was just a really, really good sequence in the middle portion to later half of this match. And then you got another ref bump, and then this is when all the security came out, and everyone started coming out. They're like, hey, man, what the heck, man? What the heck? And Orton's about to lose his mind because he was like, man, I'm about to pin him, man. The ref keeps getting bumped because Cena hit him with the tag team with the WWE title. And then Orton goes on an RKO spam spree and just absolutely RKOs Nick Aldis, the helpers, the security, the refs. It was pretty entertaining, pretty good sequence. Crowd loved it. Crowd popped for it. The only question I have is, why did the security immediately come out, you know, for this ref, but then the first ref that got bumped, no one came out to check on him? Very, very weird and pretty inconsistent, but it is what it is. After all the RKO spam, Orton tries to go for a punt, and then R-Truth, like I predicted, R-Truth comes out, man.
Yup, R-Truth saved the day.
This was pretty cool. R-Truth then comes out, and this actually makes sense because they've been alluding to it and building to it on SmackDown, so I'll give them that. R-Truth then comes out, and R-Truth basically, you know, gets involved and distracts Orton, and then Orton RKOs R-Truth, but that distraction leads to Orton getting low blowed, hit with the title, and then pretty much John Cena slides in and gets the cover off and retains his WWE Championship, and that's that. Pretty eventful match. They put a ton more effort into this main event with Cena's championship than they did with the Cody and Cena main event at Mania, so it's good to see that. I don't know why they couldn't at least have made the Cody match average. The fact that this match ended up being pretty solid shows you that the Cody and Cena match should have been much better, and it didn't need The Rock cameoing necessarily to do it, but they could have at least made it more interesting from a booking perspective. This goes to show you, everyone blaming The Rock for the Cena and Cody match being so awful, you should be blaming Triple H, because no Rock, no Travis Scott was here tonight, and this match ended up being much better than the Cena and Cody match at Mania 41, so that just goes to blow that excuse completely out of the water immediately. But this was entertaining. I enjoyed this match. I'm not going to say it's great because I don't think it was objectively because of the booking in it and some of the, the inconsistencies with the finishers and the kicking out and etc. However, this was definitely entertaining, and I would say that with these two competitors in their current stages, this was about as good as they could have done in all reality. So I enjoyed this match.
I don't agree. I thought this match was boring.
Now, afterwards, there is something notable to talk about here. Number one, John Cena kind of looks over and looks back at his championship, and the camera zooms in on him, and he looks sad. He looks sad that he let the fans down, and he looks kind of upset with what he's become and what he's doing to retain these championships and to win these championship matches. And that kind of basically alludes to you as he walks up the ramp and looks at kids and stuff cheering his name, and the crowd's chanting, "Thank you, Cena." And, the crowd, he's walking out, and he just looks upset. He looks depressed at what he's having to do, even though he really wants the love from the fans. So I obviously am taking this as a fact that they're already starting to allude that Cena will become a face again within the next couple months, proving that this heel turn was absolutely irrelevant and meaningless. You could have him been a face and win the world title off of Gunther. That way he gets his 17th world title and he can embellish and, take in the fans' love and support the rest of the year. But no, let's just go ahead and make him heel because Triple H has no idea what he's doing, and we have to bring some type of hype into Mania because Triple H isn't doing a good job as a booker and Cody sucked as champion, so we had to sell tickets somehow so Rock and Cena get involved and do something crazy. You know what I mean? And then Triple H is like, well, you know what? Let's turn him heel. And then you got heel Cena. But obviously Cena will be face very soon. I expect Cena to probably have some feud with R-Truth soon. And after that happens, that'll probably be the catalyst that turns Cena back to turning to his real fans. And Cena will probably be a good guy by SummerSlam at the latest. So that's pretty much that. But other than that, the main event was decent, pretty solid, I'd say. Everything else was pretty much either mid or garbage. And it was not worthy of being on a premium live event. And it's as simple as that. With that being said, I would give this PLE probably I'm going to go with a 4 out of 10. And I'd say pretty much 3 out of those 4 points are basically because of the main event. The other point is for the opening match, the Fatal 4-Way, because it had some moments of entertainment involved in it. Every other match was a glorified Raw match and was incredibly boring, mediocre, or just shouldn't have happened at all, and I wasn't invested in it at all, and it was straight up just bad content, not worthy of being on a PLE as mentioned before. 4 out of 10 for Backlash, and that's all you're getting from me. Thank you guys for watching. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out and one love.
Well, I give it a 2 out of 10 just because it was BACKTRASH, right? But, hey, we're not done yet. We got one more video where he talks more about Backlash. So just look at this as a review, part 2. All right? Let's get started.
So after BACKTRASH yesterday, I think it's safe to say that Triple H is easily the biggest reason why WWE is garbage right now. Now, obviously, there's multiple different things noticed in yesterday's, PLE, predictable live event is what it really should be called. And I don't know what's premium or eventful about it, but they call it a premium live event. Yesterday's PLE was absolute trash outside of the main event. And even then, there's multiple things that were noticed throughout the entire show that really show you the issues that Triple H is putting this company in. Number one, they're signing everybody. You need to focus on the talent you have right now. Stop signing people like Jeff or Jacob Cobb or Corn on the Cobb, Cobb, whatever the heck you want to call them. Stop signing a bunch of new jobbers to replace the jobbers that you already have that can become stars. Another issue, the PLE format with the 5 matches is embarrassing. The fact that Pat McAfee versus Gunther was the penultimate match on this pre-PLE premium live event is an excuse. Pat McAfee versus Gunther is one of the biggest excuses for a match that I've ever seen. It's embarrassing at this point. You cannot tell me in the same breath that the roster's as stacked as it's ever been, the business is the best it's ever been, and you have Gunther fighting Pat McAfee. Come on, man. Get real with yourself on 5-match card on PLE. It is an absolute joke. And also, quick side note, Gunther is officially buried, okay? This dude went from having a garbage world title reign to getting tapped out by Jey Uso in about 5 seconds, and now he's fighting with Pat McAfee, and after the match, after he just choked this dude out, he gives a sign of respect, a show of respect to Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. He is now an absolute jobber, and it is officially set in stone. And there is simply a severe lack of creativity and effort put toward these PLEs, and I have an amazing point I'm going to talk about with that later on in the video. But the point is, the current state of the product and the simple fact that the main event as well proved that it was not The Rock's fault why the Cody vs. Cena main event at Mania 41 was garbage. The reason it was garbage is because of Triple H's booking and the way he styled the match. The match yesterday with Orton and Cena, who are 2 older and more washed up wrestlers in the ring, and they still put on a much better Backlash main event than the main event for WrestleMania 41 with Cody Rhodes and John Cena. And we're going to talk about people blaming The Rock and Travis Scott. Well, blame The Rock and Travis Scott for the garbage we got yesterday. How about that? Now, without further ado, let's get into why I think Triple H is the biggest issue in WWE, okay? Triple H is the problem. Number one, we have to talk about the fact that Triple H shows zero creativity in anything that he is doing. Now, obviously, the card for yesterday goes as follows. We got the Fatal 4-Way for the U.S. title, with LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Fatu, and Damian Priest. We then got Lyra versus Becky, and then we got Dominic versus Penta, and then Pat McAfee versus Gunther, and then Cena versus Orton. This is a severe sign of lack of creativity, because at the end of the day, if you know you have nothing good booked for a PLE, and you know you're rushing stuff on the card, then rush out the best possible content. You know for a fact that the best possible content that you can put out on a PLE that's rushed is not this. Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria is not the best possible women's match you could have put on this card. Dominic Mysterio versus Penta for the 15th time, which we've seen on Raw, and now it's on this PLE. That is not the best possible match that you can put forward. So the question is, why did you put these matches forward? If you know that Gunther versus Pat McAfee is an excuse for a wrestling match, and you weren't even going to have Goldberg show up after the match, then why would you put this on the card? Put your best effort forward. There's zero creativity, okay? It's as simple as that. If you know you have nothing, then at least put some stars out there. Put some titles on the line. Even if the matches are predictable, you can at least add some star power and some drama and some intrigue to it, instead of just throwing out a bunch of Raw matches on a PLE. And this is a great point I have in this, okay? Listen to this, all right? So we got Lyra versus Becky Lynch, okay? You could have easily replaced that with Io Sky, who's super over right now. She's clearly the biggest rising star in the women's division besides Rhea Ripley, obviously. And you could have had her defending her world title versus Stephanie Valkyria. You know what I'm saying? In a one-on-one match, a double championship match that then you can end it in a DQ and have Roxanne Perez be the one who messed it up with Julia. And then you can have Rhea Ripley come out, get the big pop, and that's that.
Or you could do Io Sky versus Julia.
But at least the in-ring quality would have been phenomenal. Better than Lyra fighting Becky Lynch and then taking 2 manhandle slams, kicking out, and then winning off a one-handed roll-up. That's embarrassing, man. Or you could have had a Roxanne Perez versus Rhea versus Io triple threat. The match probably would have been amazing. The triple threat at WrestleMania was great. Why couldn't you put the triple threat on Backlash now with Perez, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky? I'm not the biggest fan of Roxanne Perez, but that match would have at least been better than what we got.
Or you could just do a Fatal 4-Way match for the WWE Women's Championship, which I thought they would have had on the card, but they didn't. That would have been good. Would have been sweet, actually.
Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre straight up probably would have been a better and, a more concisely booked match than what we got yesterday. The Fatal 4-Way yesterday was pretty solid, don't get me wrong, but the ending and the overbooking of Jeffrey Corn and a Cobb showing up, come on with this stuff, man. Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. Instead of giving us the same Raw match we've gotten 50 times, if you have 5 matches, I already gave you 2, then why don't you replace this with the Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins world title match that was on Raw? Put that on this card, and then you have CM Punk show up. And now you just like that, your first 3 matches on the card are as follows. You have a triple threat with Io, Rhea, and Perez for the world title. You have Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre one-on-one straight up. And now you have Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins for the world title with the whole Heyman and Braun Breaker faction. And then you have Punk returning to help Jey win. That is much more intriguing and entertaining than what we're getting here with Dominic versus Penta for the 50th time and the Judgment Day interfering for the 50th time.
Bro, he does not like the Judgment Day, which I understand, but you're the one always talking positive about Liv Morgan. Goddamn, Cjax. Make up your mind. Do you fuck with the Judgment Day or do you not? Because he keeps saying he want Finn and Dom to split, but you gotta get rid of Liv Morgan too. Come on, man, stop. Bro can't make up his mind when it comes to the Judgment Day, bro.
You understand? Do better. You're telling me you couldn't do that match? You just did it on Raw in a meaningless segment. So there's no excuse for this. Then you also have the stuff with Gunther versus Pat McAfee. You could have easily replaced this with a Gunther versus Jey Uso rematch, or don't even have Gunther on the card. Do something else. Have Dominic Mysterio fight Sheamus.
That's what I'm saying. Have him face Sheamus. But I think they might do it at Money in the Bank, but I don't know. But I would love to see Dom versus Sheamus. But the question is, will Finn Balor cost him the title or help him retain it until he faces him for the title? That's the question. But, yeah, we do need Sheamus to take that belt. But I just wonder when.
or fight someone more credible, than Penta, where there's zero chance at all. Something more engaging or entertaining would have been better. Put El Grande Americano versus Dominic Mysterio in a match for the IC title. Something like that. Elevate someone new. Give someone new a chance. Stop spamming Penta in the Intercontinental title scene if you know he ain't winning, and he's going to keep getting jobbed out until he reforms the Lucha Bros. It's embarrassing. And then obviously the main event of Cena versus Orton, which ended up being pretty entertaining and pretty enjoyable in my opinion. It still had some issues obviously, but it was still enjoyable. That match could have been still your main event. But look at the card I just created versus what we got. You mean to tell me that Triple H couldn't have made a card like I just made? I'm watching the product at home. You know what I'm saying? And the guy who's getting paid tens of millions of dollars to do this stuff for his job to be creative, and he can't even do what I'm telling you could possibly have been on the card. And you're trying to tell me that this dude is a creative genius. No, he's not. He's a creative moron. That's what Triple H is. I don't want to hear about how creative this guy is when I'm making better cards than him, recording this video in my mom's basement. Come on, man. I'm just trying to hear how creative Triple H is. Hey, shout out to my mom, though. You know what I'm saying? Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and hope you guys are enjoying this day, with your moms and everything like that. Happy Mother's Day. Anyways, that's not the point. Then we also have to talk about the fact that Triple H has zero focus on the actual talent that we have now. This is evident by the fact that the U.S. title match opened up the show. Number one, Damian Priest just had a world title last year. Obviously, he was a transitional champion because Damian Priest is a jobber, okay? All right for the outlaw. All right for the jobber. Damian Priest is an absolute and utter jobber, and everybody knows it.
That is not true. Damian Priest is one of the greatest superstars of all time, sir. At least in this generation. But again, you state your opinion on him. That's fine. We could just disagree. But Damian Priest is not a jobber. If he wants, he can go after the WWE Championship against John Cena. Just the problem is the scheduling is not as great as it's supposed to be. Because John Cena should be facing the people that are in this fatal four-way match. Except Jacob Fatu. But still, bro, just haven't really seen his work yet. That's the problem. So I don't know when is John Cena gonna face these new stars, but right now he's just facing older people, the people that he already faced already, which is completely dumb. But if anything, LA Knight should be going after John Cena. Okay, Damian Priest too, Drew McIntyre as well, and Carmella Hayes. But right now, they ain't doing that. They got this man facing R-Truth at Saturday Night's main event, but won't have him face LA Knight. Stupid, but no, I don't agree. Damian Priest is not a jobber. At all. At all. I don't care what you say. He's not a jobber. They're just booking him wrong. That's it. But at least he's getting title opportunities. But I do agree he should have never been in this match. It should have just been Drew and versus Jacob, but they didn't do it like that. So I don't know when they're going to do it, but at this point, who cares? Who cares?
Now, because Damian Priest is a jobber, don't put him in this mid-card U.S. Championship match. Just because people have nothing to do, Triple H just forces them into storylines. Like, LA Knight has had nothing to do now for months at this point. Even after he won the belt versus Logan Paul, he was defending every week and doing a good job with what he had, but he clearly had no end game, no goal with this title reign. He wasn't elevating to the world title scene anytime soon, and now we know he's not because he just lost a U.S. title match 2 times in the span of 3 weeks. So you don't go from losing U.S. title matches to fighting for world titles. So LA Knight's now left in a place of just, irrelevancy. LA Knight, as great as he's been and as over as he's gotten over the last year and a half, 2 years, and the best thing you have for him now is to be an undercard jobber fighting for nothing. And I'm told that Triple H is cooking. It's cinema. Stop. Get real with yourself. Drew McIntyre, it's the same thing. There should never be a situation where people as talented as LA Knight and Drew McIntyre are undercard jobbers fighting for nothing. That is embarrassing, and that shows me that the guy who is at the top of the creative food chain is doing a poor job of developing talent. Instead of worrying about signing Rey Fenix and Rusev and D-Lister Black and and all these other jobbers like Jeffrey Cobb, instead of worrying about signing all these new jobbers to fill in roles that current jobbers are already playing, building, why don't you actually build the talent that you already have? You wonder why you have no star power on these shows? It's because Triple H cannot build new stars. Like Roxanne Perez could have easily been in the triple threat match to help develop her stock and build her stock as a woman's wrestler inside of the division, a newer talent into the division. But no, we get a rerun of Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. We never seen the match before, obviously, in a one-on-one, but you get what I mean. It's a Raw level match thrown onto a PLE. We could have gotten that. You could have had Carmelo Hayes be on this PLE. You know what I mean? You could have had a situation where Braun Breaker was on this PLE. You could have had a situation where Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins got on the PLE and fought versus Fraxium or something. You're telling me that match wouldn't have been better than Penta versus Dominic Mysterio part 50? Really? That's what we're being told right now? That's why people like Montez Ford, Carmelo, the people I'm, listing off, etc., they cannot get on these PLEs. People like Drew McIntyre and LA Knight, whose talent dictate them being upper mid-carders or main event level talents, they are relegated to doing undercard activities. Because the guy Triple H in charge is not good at developing and building stars. That's why people with talents are doing nothing and they're sitting and catering, or they're wrestling undercard jobber matches. How many times has Solo Sikoa lost to LA Knight on SmackDown? He just did it yesterday or 2 days ago on SmackDown, man. It's ridiculous at this point. There is no excuse for this stuff. All of these new jobbers we're bringing in, like D-Lister Black and, Corn on a Cob and Rusev, all these jobbers who can't draw a dime. They've never sold a ticket in their life, man. And you're bringing them over thinking that they're going to be better than people like Carmelo Hayes, than LA Knight, than Drew McIntyre?
And why is Maya May coming to WWE again? I'll let y'all comment down below about that.
LA Knight has never fought for an Intercontinental title as far as I'm concerned. But Penta already has multiple times? Penta is better than LA Knight according to Triple H? Triple fraud? Stop. The booking is a disaster, and we're all seeing it in front of our face. None of these new jobbers they're bringing in are moving needles. They're not bringing in any viewership. The viewership is going down over the last few months. Netflix started off with 6 million globally, and now they're struggling to get 2.9 million. They're staying stagnant or they're going downwards. That's the status of Netflix every single week with the Raw viewership, because fans do not care. You can't care for all these wrestlers when you're throwing in so many new wrestlers and not developing the ones you already have. So now you have new jobbers and old jobbers. So what now? You have nothing. That's what you get. You get absolute garbage. And with all these new wrestlers being in, that's why you have the releases. People like Braun Strowman, who actually contributed a lot to this company over the last year since he came back, and he's getting fired. But you'll bring in someone like Jeffrey Corn on a Cob, someone like Rusev, someone like D-Lister Black, who you know is going to be an undercard jobber within months. It is embarrassing, man. There's too many people who are just wrestlers. We have enough wrestlers. If you want to watch a good wrestling match, turn on literally any wrestling promotion and watch the show, and you will get at least one good match. At least. We have too many people who can put on solid in-ring matches. I need people who can come in and help tell stories. And I need a booker who's not focused on showing 50 ads in the ring and giving us more ads on the mat than matches. Part of that's obviously on TKO, but you get the point. Triple H, we have more ads in the ring than we are matches. You mean to tell me as the head of creative, you can't find a way to get 6 to 7 matches on a card minimum? Minimum? Come on, man. Get real with yourself. This is an embarrassment beyond epic proportions. And the fact that we are actually sitting here and witnessing this is honestly historical. We are witnessing historically awful booking from a guy who is constantly told to us how amazing he is. But nothing that's being dictated in the numbers, in the viewership, and the revenue is showing us how amazing he is. So it's just, and even the fan intrigue, the fans are complaining about this. That SmackDown episode before Backlash felt like a normal episode of SmackDown in like November. It's uneventful. Nobody cares about that garbage. So stop the nonsense, man. So it's just ridiculous at this point. And then obviously, the last thing we need to discuss is the main event scene. Triple H officially proves that the gap in talent when it comes to booking main event level shows is clearly not there. He last year at Mania 40, the reason why the main events were so good is because of the hard carrying that The Rock was doing and that Roman was doing, and that obviously The Rock's team of writers that made that, helped make that story with him and Cody and Rollins and Roman so good last year. That is what carried WrestleMania 40. And ultimately, you had the special cameos and appearances at night 2, which was pretty good. And if that was Triple H's idea to have those cameos, great on him. But the following year at Mania 41, we got a complete and utter booking disaster, an American nightmare of booking we got at Mania 41. And you saw how bad it flopped, how disappointed fans were. And you look at this now, the main event of Mania 41 with Cena and Cody was absolute garbage. And everyone had the audacity. Everyone was like, oh, well, The Rock should have showed up, man. The Rock messed it up, man. He's the reason this sucked, man. Come on, man. Well, why don't you point a finger at the trash booker who's in control of this stuff? He's the creative guy. I don't give a crap if The Rock doesn't show up. You should still be able to make the best possible product that you can make as the head of creative for WWE. You are getting paid tens of millions of dollars to do so. So why is it possible that on Backlash, with two more washed up wrestlers in the ring with Cena and Orton, they were able to put on an infinitely better match than what we got with Cena and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41? Either Cody Rhodes sucks or Triple H sucks or both. It's as simple as that. And it is absolutely embarrassing that the Backlash match was much better than the Mania 41 main event, which shows me that everyone's saying, oh, well, Travis Scott, The Rock, and Travis Scott, man, Fiend. Yeah, now look at you. Look at you now. You know what I'm saying? Look at you now. You have a bad show with or without The Rock, with or without Travis Scott, because the same person that remains throughout all of these shows is triple fraud. And the more he continues to do this non-creative garbage booking where no one can get over, the PLE format is full of absolute just raw matches. Let me tell you something about this, right? Why are we in a situation where the card for all these PLEs, number one, has 5 matches, and number two, is full of Raw and SmackDown matches? That is unacceptable, man. In what world, why in the world would anyone tune into a premium live event to watch matches that are on Raw and SmackDown? Why? It is absolutely embarrassing, and you know this. There is no possible reason why any of this should be taking place. And the simple fact is I did see that after the press conference after the show of Backlash, and we got to see R-Truth get AA'd through a table after, congratulating Cena and then bringing up how the fans say he can't wrestle, and it pissed Cena off, and Cena did the AA. But the situation is with this is that now John Cena is going to be doing a match versus R-Truth probably for Saturday Night Main Event, with Jey Uso fighting Logan Paul at Saturday Night Main Event. Why couldn't Jey Uso just defend tonight versus Rollins, move on from that, and then get Jey Uso versus Logan Paul in 2 weeks? You could have had him do double duty. He can't wrestle 2 times in 3 weeks. I guess not. Most world champions don't do that at all. So, it is what it is. Cody had, 8 or 9 defenses, or maybe 10 defenses in 380 days? So, I don't know why I would expect a world champion to have 3 defenses in a couple weeks. That's not acceptable anymore. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is Triple H is absolutely awful at his job. He's doing a terrible job at what he's doing. There's no creativity. The PLE format is garbage, and Triple H is not focused on his talent, and therefore they're signing jobber after jobber after jobber. It's like banger after a banger after a banger, and I can't stop thinking about Punk. You know what I mean? Because Drew McIntyre got his head slammed yesterday, but still, hopefully he was okay, by the way. I haven't seen any new reports. Apparently he's fine according to Triple H, but yeah, we'll see about that. Anyways, that's not the point. Triple H sucks at his job, and he's ruining the creative for WWE, and thus it's ruining PLEs, and it's ruining the overall product week to week. And with that being said, hopefully he gets his act together, or maybe he needs to get fired for him to possibly realize what the heck is going on with this company. With that being said, I thank you guys so much for watching. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out and one love.
All right, let's all agree that Backlash was trash, and that's the reason why they call it BACKTRASH. Because, listen, I can't find one match that I like from this match. And I did. If y'all want to check out my live stream, go ahead and check it out. It's on YouTube. But, yeah, man. Yeah, that shit sucked, man. I don't know why some people think this pay-per-view was cool, man. Like there ain't nothing cool about it. You know what I'm saying? It could have been better. But anyway, I got some more videos and reviews from BCB and Bobby where they speak about their point of views about Backlash. So I will be dropping that tomorrow. Not all of them, but I'll probably do each day. We'll see on the timing because I got a busy schedule. So, but I definitely want to do a reaction video to those because I do think that we need to get some second, third opinions about Backlash. So this is just the first one. But at least you know that Cjax is not rocking with the pay-per-view. Neither are we. So y'all comment down below and share your thoughts on Backlash. What do you guys think? Do you thought it was trash or do you thought it was decent or average? Y'all comment down below and let me know, all right? And if you do want to speak some positive things about it, comment down below and let me know, all right? Get in the comment box. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share if you're new. And I got 2 more videos on the way on the Backlash review from different bloggers. And I will drop it either tomorrow or Tuesday. We got more coming, all right? I'm out.